She only had it a few months before she passed away. So.
And who was that?
Huh?
Who was that?
Kathy Benedict.
So what are we doing the artifacts? Do we go downstairs?
We will, oh, I forgot to tell you to get the artifacts, so, why don't we go, since we're sitting out, let's go ahead and do a welcome and all of that, and then we'll take a minute and go get the artifacts.
Okay. Well, if you don't know me, I'm Karen Martin. And I participated in this training with Chloe a couple of weeks ago, and it was really overwhelming in a positive way. We got to share, I got to meet so many people I didn't know, and got to share so many stories that I never would have thought to even ask about. And it was a very, very meaningful thing. So welcome. Thank you for participating. I'm co-leading with Chloe because I told her I was a nervous wreck. And so I look at her. And also, my hearing aids died about 20 minutes ago. And I know it's just a battery thing, but I can't get them fixed right now. So I'm not going to get them fixed. So speak clearly and a little louder than normal, maybe, and I won't have to say what so much. I long for the day of the horn. Those things work, man, you know. Every time I cut my ear, I can hear everything, but it looks stupid. Chloe, I would ask you to give the background of Healing Illinois and the purpose tell about the grant, the purpose of the groups, because that's your expertise.
Sure. So Healing Illinois is sponsored by the Field Foundation, and each year they give grants out, and they have a different focus every year. This year the focus was on looking at things that have been erased, looking at undertold stories, and looking at how those two things could participate in the healing of Illinois. And so looking at that and looking at the work that I've done, a lot of it here at First Christian, I asked Karen if I could apply with First Christian for the grant that I applied for, which was Migraciones. And Migraciones just means migrations. And I kind of played with the word rooted, looking at those routes that we have taken in Illinois or to get Illinois, and also rooted, looking at how we are attached in Illinois and how we have been attached, the ways that we have been entangled and attached and connected to Illinois. And so, lo and behold, they said, we will give you money to do these story groups. And so there are a lot of moving parts to the grant. The first thing was to have the orientation, actually the solicitation, and to ask people, but just the right people. So there were people who did apply for this, who I did turn down, because I needed just the right people who would have a sense for what we were doing and have a sense for how to go into the next steps. And even to have a sense like Karen, which was really wonderful, to say, you know, I want to do this, but maybe I need maybe a co-lead, which I think that's like leading up. So that's like this thing that for me, if I were to do this again, I would make sure and include that and make sure that people know that that is a real option. And so training that we did a couple of weeks ago, that was the next part. There were pieces in between where there was a lot of reading that I gave as optional that people could do. And if you're interested in any of that, I can let you into the classroom and you can look at that. And then this is the next part after the training, which is to do these story groups. So in the story groups, we're collecting stories, and we're also collecting artifacts, mainly pictures of artifacts. And then the next step after that is that we will build a digital museum so that all of our artifacts will live in a digital space, so that all of Illinois, all of anybody who wants to, can see them. But also we are building a mobile museum that might look something like this. I'm not sure what that's going to look like yet. And that's going to go through spaces in libraries, historical societies, and whoever wants to see them. And then we will present on this whole process. And then the final thing that we're going to do is have a showcase in May and just celebrate all of the stories we've collected and to talk about what this experience has been like and to just be with each other and celebrate.
Thank you. So the concepts that we've been talking about have been, for this particular group, has been rift, brokenness, and it kind of fits in with the whole Healing Illinois, because I think there are so many ways in our society, and even just here, I was going to say just here in Carbondale, maybe just here in the church, sometimes within even smaller communities, relationships and all, there are always rifts, there are always needs for healing. And this is a way to go about identifying some of those fault lines, those rifts that exist in our lives, and connect them to our journey and connect them to our need for healing, and then connect them to how it brought us to Illinois. So, it's not how did you come to Illinois, but for example, one of my artifacts that I will share, and I'll tell the story, is this wedding ring that was my great-grandmother's. Well, she was from Kentucky. But there's a rift in the story that I'll explain. And it comes with me because my mother wants me to have this. It's her grandmother's. It's my great-grandmother's. If I don't wear it, she asks where it is. And so there's a healing in that. There's a healing, the rift that happened, that brought this ring to my attention, sort of. And you will have, and I have another artifact that will do the same thing. And if you brought two, you'll have a chance to share two things and kind of connect it to the concept of rift, fault lines, and healing, and your journey. So, like, lots of rifts you can think of. What kind of rifts can you think of?
Families.
Family rifts, sure.
Workplace
Rifts, yeah.
Well, even in a church, there can be rifts.
Rifts in church? No, it never happens.
Look at Grand Avenue Christian Church, and you can see rifts.
Oh my God! Well, look at the disciples
Because
and
that
the Church of Christ. Not
Grand
just-
Avenue was part of this church at one time.
Right. Well, I was part of a church split once. Cultural language differences and rifts between, like, I went into the Mexican grocery the other day, and I felt really weird that I didn't speak Spanish. I felt uncomfortable, and it doesn't mean I was treated poorly. I was treated with great welcome, but I felt like I needed to know how to speak Spanish. Racial rifts. It's huge. I mean, we cannot pretend it's not political.
Rifts at work.
Pardon me?
Rifts at work between
Yes.
colleagues.
Rift, not liking a boss and trying to deal with that kind of dynamic. Rifts of place. Part of my story is that I don't have, where are you from? Where's your home? I don't really have one. I've lived in Kentucky and Illinois and Iowa and, all of these different places. I don't have a home. My mother doesn't live where I grew up. So there's a place type of rift that sometimes people feel and have difficulty coming to terms with and healing. So that's kind of the ballpark of how we're going to talk about our artifacts in a little while. But the first thing before doing that, we're going to talk about listening skills. And we're going to introduce some concepts. So what do you think of as active listening? When I say, what is active listening? What is it?
Focusing, taking notes.
I can't hear you.
Focusing on the speaker, taking notes.
Okay. Anybody else?
Questioning.
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 Nodding.
Yeah.
Body language.
interrupting.
Not interrupting. If you think of quiet listening, what does that conjure up in your head if I say quiet listening?
Yeah, that would be not, like, not saying anything, but making sure you make eye contact, an occasional nod, you know, focused on the person speaking. Yeah.
Now, we're going to give you a demonstration of the next one, which I call autobiographical listening. Hey, Chloe, where are you from?
I'm from Robbins, Illinois.
Robbins, Illinois? Oh my gosh, I'm from Chicago Heights, which is really close to Robbins, Illinois. Have you ever heard of my high school, Bloom Township High School? That's autobiographical. I heard what she said. What did I do?
Start talking about yourself.
I made it about me.
Yeah.
We do that all the time. And there are two ways of looking at autobiographical listening. One is, I'm trying to relate to you. But then the question behind that is, did I really listen, or did I just immediately turn on the need? Did I say, or did I say, tell me more about that story, and then say, can I share something that happened to me? That's a different way of sharing yourself without hijacking the conversation. And I can't tell you how many people, myself included, who have been guilty of autobiographical listening. And the person who's being listened to walks away just kind of, what was that? You know, have you ever experienced it? You ever done it?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
All of us. But it's an important thing to become aware of. And one of the things that I used to think of, because I'm not an auditory person, I'm very visual. Listening is difficult for me. My mind wanders. I start looking at your beautiful headband. I start, thinking about, the baptism class. It's really hard for me. So when I come away from a conversation, I have to ask myself, what did I learn about that person? What do I know that I didn't know? What questions did I ask? And I try to go into it with those things in the forefront of my head. And if I don't, I at least try to do it when I walk away and say, did you learn anything? Did you ask anything? Did you actively listen? Or was it an autobiographical switch? So it's learned behavior, and I don't know, speaking only for myself, very difficult. Chloe brought up a really interesting point that you really can only listen to someone, and I've been talking more than 3 minutes. You can really only listen to somebody for about 3 minutes before your mind starts going elsewhere, or before it's your turn. And then you've got about 3 minutes. And so we have a timer, and we're going to use it, and I've set it on something not terribly, horribly genuine, but that will catch your attention when the 3 minutes are up. And then your time's done. I mean, you can finish your sentence, obviously. But then your time is done. And it gives you a sense of, number one, how it feels to listen for that length of time. But it also will teach you how long is 3 minutes of talking. So that's that. And then the only other thing couple of other things. One is respectful curiosity. May I ask, do you mind telling me, is it okay if, especially if it's something really close to someone's heart, if they're sharing something difficult or catastrophic, I mean, I automatically want to go, well, what kind of cancer was it? Or what stage were you at? What stage cancer was it? And respectfully, I would back off, and I would try to take a read from the person, and I would say, can I ask what kind of cancer it was? And if they seemed really, oh, of course, yeah, it was blah, 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 metastatic, blah, 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 and I said, oh, man, And then I might get around to saying what stage was it, depending on how I feel the back and forth has gone. But I want to get that person's permission in some way to ask the kinds of questions that might go deeper. And it's a good way to go deeper, because when you ask the question, the person feels so respected, and honored, and they feel safe. And so, if I think you're going to autobiographical listen to me, I don't feel safe, I'm not going to tell you what stage cancer I got. I mean, it's not going to happen. And then, confidentiality. I'm going to share a story that I don't care if you repeat it somewhere. You may share a story that's very private to you. And so what we talk about here is confidential. We will, there's I learned this in the training too, the concept of tell the story, not the person.
Yeah.
So if you're talking to somebody, you can say, oh, I heard this story. I know someone who did this certain thing, and this is what I learned from it. You're doing it, you're sharing for a reason. You're not sharing to be gossipy. You're sharing for a reason. So you're saying, this was a really interesting experience I had. I can't tell you who it was, but rather than, I was talking with Dee the other day, and she told me blah, 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 and you're going, I didn't mean for that to be public. So that's a real important concept for who we are in this group. So I invite you to go get your artifact, because we've got to bring them up, and then we'll start into that part of it. Are we doing good on
I think we are.
introduction and
Yes.
everything? I've left my artifact downstairs too.
And because dinner's not going to be served quite yet, please feel free to have oranges, and I have paper bags here to put the
I
orange
put bags
peels in.
here.
Oh, great, great.
They were
great.
just kind of laying on the
Yeah,
table, so
yeah,
I
yeah,
moved
yeah.
them. Do you have one or two?
I brought one and I didn't remember that I should bring two. I
You
brought
can,
my
go,
other.
you can go to your, you got time to go to your car if you want to go get it.
Okay. I left my other one downstairs.
Yeah,
I
go
just
get
brought
it.
one. Should I bring both?
I have my two, you have two? Yeah, if you
Should you want me to bring
share
the other
it,
one?
if you want to share it, yes.
I'll go get this. Well, it isn't real risky, but
But it's yours.
I need my purse to get in the car.
Can we use the front door, or should we? use
Yeah, I think the
door?
front door's unlocked. If it's not, just pound on it, I'll come let you in.
Yeah, I couldn't get in.
Oh, is it locked?
It was when I got here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, when I was in Champaign, I was a pastor there, and I had my little office, and we never locked our doors.
Mm.
Go down, didn't lock the outside door or anything like that. I had my purse stolen. Finally, we had to lock the doors. I hate the
Yeah.
concept, the idea of a church with locked doors.
I know.
But I definitely understand it.
Yeah.
Let her go in.
Did you have some? I need to go and get it.
Do you all remember Sally Josie Raphael?
Yes.
Talk amongst yourselves. I didn't watch her very much, but I thought she was brilliant.
Well, this is a good time for me to say I forgot our salad.
Oh,
I'm no.
What did you say?
I forgot our salad.
Oh,
I was gonna start going
Yeah, we
vegetarian
don't need
today.
that. That would be fun.
you can have fresh fruit salad.
We'll have that for dinner tomorrow.
No, I'm gonna leave it here for, coffee hour.
Oh,
Yeah.
The salad,
Ah.
because today's Tuesday.
That's right, I won't, yeah,
oh, yeah.
that's right, okay.
Yeah.
And I'm saying leave it here like it's here. I can't bring it here.
I can use it as a snap
You
eater.
know me, that Brian.
What's that at?
Do you have a picture? You said you want it prized for that picture of the phone. Do you have it on your phone? I got home and I was
I made this picture of my brother and sister.
I may have to have
Snap
one.
eater.
Yeah,
It's multi-purpose.
I know that.
So, we're going to share our artifacts, but let's talk about what an artifact is. And there's no great and no wrong answer. Well, there might be, but I don't know it. What is an artifact?
It's a piece of history, I think.
A piece of history?
It represents a story.
Is a physical object, generally?
Yeah.
Generally,
Usually an artifact is a
That's
physical
how I
object.
think.
A physical object that represents something other than itself, right?
right.
It tells the story, it represents something. So you've all had to think about it. Was it easy to come up with artifacts that fit the lesson today? The fault, rift, need for healing, that sort of thing. Yeah, made my brain a little squirrely for a while when I was first coming up with that. But the purpose of the artifact in this group is then as a jumping off point. It's like our diving board into starting to share who we are, and what our artifact is, and how it represents our own rift/healing. We are going to take 3 minutes each.
3 minutes each.
Is that for both artifacts?
No, 3 minutes for one, and then we'll come back and do 3
Okay,
minutes.
well, so pick out one at a time. We're going to, and you can just decide what order you want to go in. I'm not going to tell you what order to go in. But you'll have 3 minutes to introduce your artifact and to tell why you chose it, how you chose it, what it represents to you, what it means in terms of, healing and falls and rift and that sort of thing. It's very personal, so you can't get it wrong. And I'm going to set this. I'm going to show you what the alarm sounds like. Well, no, I'm not. It's just going to go on. Who would like to start?
Me.
Okay, go right ahead.
Okay. First of all, I'm going to show you on the cover of this book. This is a book I compiled for my brother and sister. This is a picture of me and my brother and my sister. And it's about a year just after my father passed away. He was killed in an airplane crash in Indiana. And at the time, we were living in Charleston, Illinois, but it was just me and my brother, and my sister wasn't born yet. She was born 3 months after my father died. And we came back to Carbondale. And we came back to Carbondale and moved into my grandparents' house. And this is the house that they came from. If you want to pass it around, I don't care. It's still standing. It's at 606 South University. It is one of only 2 houses from West College Street down to Mill Street that are still there. The house on the corner, the next house was the Stotler Apartments, there was a house there, but they were built. That was built. Then my grandmother's and grandfather's house, 606 South University. Okay, when we moved into that house, The three of us with my mother. Also that living there was my uncle, my two aunts, my great-grandfather, my grandparents, and a whole house full of SIU student girls, because it was a boarding house. And up in the top section of the house were the bedrooms for the girls. In the basement, there was also a bedroom for girls. Also their kitchen, where my grandfather had built each person a station where you could sit, the girls could sit, they could cook. And this was their entrance was in this, at this place right here. There was also an entrance to the living area where we all lived. It was like a foyer type of thing, and then you went up the stairs, and the rooms were upstairs. So I grew up for a year in that house while my mother was able to purchase some land, and the company that my father was working for at the time gave her a house. It was a prefab house. It came on a truck. All of the walls and everything, and I'm done.
Don't worry, I think there'll be more time to
Yeah,
talk.
to go into.
Yes.
We'll definitely have
Yes.
that time.
Well, I haven't got to the rift yet, but
And we'll have an opportunity to
Yeah.
talk about that also, if you don't get to it. But that 3 minutes goes as fast, isn't it?
yeah.
Who would like to go next?
I would.
Okay.
So I made this book for Kevin recently. He's 42 right now. And when he was born, he turned blue and they weren't knowing what was going on. And then he did some blood tests and it came back he was missing a piece of chromosome. And it was like, oh, well, you can take him now because we know there's a problem, but we suggest you put him in Anna because he'll never walk or talk or do anything. And so, I don't take that kind of stuff. So, but it's been a long, long road and a lot of fights. I've filed for due process through the schools twice. They refused to educate him. I was told by the Carbondale superintendent, Jacoba, we have a place for people like that. And I got into speech because he finally started walking at, I want to say like 5-ish or something, but he wasn't putting words together. He was just labeling. He wasn't combining things. So went back to school. I had already had degrees in counseling and recreation and went back and did a speech therapy thing. And so every week I would go to the professor and say, Kevin's doing this, what do I do next? And so he's still hard to understand. Those two guys have been around him a bit, but I mean, he doesn't shut up often. So that part worked. And I got into all sorts of state organizations to help. It was a nightmare filing due process because it just went on and on. The school district had a fire or had an insurance policy, so they were out nothing, and they could just say no. Is that good?
You got a little bit over.
Okay, I heard another tingling thing. Okay, so anyway, so the due process, I got him into a better classroom, not a trainable mentally handicapped when I wanted him around normal people. That was what best practice was, but Carbondale refused. They refused university help. I went to a million different people to try to get stuff done for him. And then when he got to high school, it was a different district, and they plopped him right back in that classroom hell that I didn't like. So there's that. And then I found out that Adultland was probably even worse, or could be worse. So it's been an ongoing thing to try to get services, and I'm trying to get it for more than just Kevin because the whole group home situation is a nightmare in Illinois. It's 47th in the country in services, and he was in a particularly bad one, and hopefully he's in a better one now. We can just hope so.
You had 17 seconds. Who would like to go next? Scott, go ahead.
This is my artifact. This is picked picture that was taken of me in Vietnam. I was up on the hill. That day I was coming down from the hill, but a few months later, it's the same hill I got shot. I was getting on a helicopter and I got shot. And pretty bad wound. I would have died, but I happened to be standing next to our medic, or corpsman. He stopped the bleeding. He eventually got me down the hill because we were under fire. And got another chopper to take me down to the main base, which was being shelled mercilessly by the North Vietnamese. And to the extent where I was in Charlie Med, which was underground. That was our medical station. The doctor was working over me. And at one point, I got hit by a shell. And the doctor, who was in a flak jacket, threw himself over me. And there was dust coming down on us. Anyway, I got out of there, went to another place down country. From there, excuse me, I was medevac to Tokyo where I did some surgery. And it was all pretty hairy. I got shot. I was very badly hurt. But if I'd gone down there, I would have been in a bunker. If I had actually taken the helicopter down to the main base, I've been in a bunker that was hit by a rocket, and everybody in it died. So I was fortunate in that respect that I didn't actually make it down. I was in Tokyo for some time, and then they eventually flew me to Great Lakes Naval Hospital, where I was sent to recuperate, get more surgery. I had to get neurosurgery there. So I was up there. That's where I had come from, Chicago. That's where I was taken into the service. I had a wife there, and she was living and working in Chicago. So eventually, I got liberty, and I was able to get some leave and come home and be with my wife. And while I recovered, that's it.
I feel so rude.
Can you pass that around?
Yeah, I was going to
Yes,
ask and say, if you
please.
want to pass your artifact,
Yeah,
Dia
sure.
passed a picture around.
How much to
If
see?
you want to pass your book, Joan.
Yes,
We'll
please.
hand it real quick. We'll take a minute to.
Sure, I took him to Florida a few years ago, and it was all that one trip that I put in there. And I did it so he could read the words, because we worked really hard at getting him to have some literacy. And so he can read most of that book.
Oh, that's great.
He loves roller coasters, so.
So did we say we're going to go around again?
We'll go around again for your second
Okay,
article.
so then we'll go with what's from your story.
Didn't hear. I just heard you ask if we're going to go around
So
again.
then we'll hear the rest of the story.
Oh, or the second artifact.
Okay.
You have another one?
Oh, my goodness. Boy, that is iconic. That's an iconic
Isn't
picture.
it?
A pretty beat up photograph.
It's appropriate. Who would like to go next?
Yeah, I'll go next. So I'm passing around a picture of my maternal grandparents, and both sets of my grandparents, and I got the other set downstairs, and it's like two separate stories, but the families wound up in the same place in Benton, Illinois. And, but, you know, there's a little hurt behind it because part of my journey is to find out a little more about my family, because my mother, you know, she didn't talk as much about that. Now, back then, the wives were typically, you know, a bit younger than their husbands, you know, so there was that gap. I don't know about my grandfather's family. He probably came from Poland when he was a little bit older, I think about 1900, 1901 or something. But my grandmother, supposedly there were 12 kids in her family. I had heard that some of them died coming over to the country. I don't know. I can't verify that. The only, I never met any of her siblings except for her youngest sister in Chicago that my mother eventually went to live with when my mom was 14. And her Aunt Stella, who had moved out to California, who I don't think I ever even met Aunt Stella. You know, so, and some of the tragedy, and I'll talk about that later, is that I've got a riff on that side of the family that was caused by my sister that I don't like talking about. And I'm not going to talk too much now, or else I get real, you know, I'll start getting a little bit angry. But, so I'm trying to find some things, and my grandfather worked, you know, he was, you know, he worked as a blacksmith and all this. There's pictures that I have of him having a horse and, you know, a little bit of land. But when he was in Benton, for the most part, he worked for the mines, and he worked in Old Bend number 8. And he belonged to the Eagles Club. Now, I didn't know this until last week when I was going through some old boxes last time I was in Chicago. But my dad also belonged to the Eagles and was a charter member of that branch. So it's so weird, you know. Oh, 3 minutes goes by really
It goes by very quickly.
It's much faster when you're talking than when you're listening.
Yeah.
Isn't that a funny thing?
It is.
Carol, what do you
Okay,
got?
well, I didn't really understand the program.
I'm sorry. Then I didn't explain it right.
Anyway, I brought an interesting story. So this is about my maternal grandmother, and she was born in 1885 in England, and she came over here on this ship. It was called the Oceanic, and it came in 1912, a month after the horrible disaster of the Titanic. And she was with her 2 children, aged 2 and 3. My grandfather had come the year before because he had a job here, and she followed 7 months later. And on this voyage, they actually stopped in the sea to rescue just the bodies of some that had died, and they gave them burial in the sea. But she remembered that, and she said she never took off her clothes and put on her pajamas while she was on the ship because she didn't want to go down if she wasn't dressed. But when she came here, she had been working as a kitchen maid in one of those big homes in England, and my grandfather had to pay to get her discharged from that job so she could come here with the 2 children. This was my mother's older sister and older brother. And they moved to this house in Forest Park, Illinois, and the picture is in their dining room at the table with my grandmother and my mother standing with her. And this house was also the house that I was born into, and the house where my grandmother died. It was the house for the whole family for many years. So I wanted to just tell you that my grandfather had come here to work at a photo engraving company because he had developed a color photo process that was patented for him, and they bought it. Our Donnelly company, which is a pretty big company. My grandmother died in 1959 after living in that dining room in a hospital bed for about 3 years after a stroke. And that's her whole story.
Well, would you like to share yours?
Sure. So, if you are on Facebook at all, while recruiting for a story, I told a little bit of my story, and I'll pass this around in a minute, but I talked about coming here in Carbondale. Like I say, I've been here for 4 or 5 years. That's not quite the truth. I came here to go to school in 1980, and I flunked out fabulously because I have ADHD, and I didn't know I had ADHD at the time. And so I spent years with a rift and a war between myself. That is my rift. That was my rift, and sometimes continues to be my rift, and rupture, and fault lines, the faults that I find in myself because of having ADHD, and constantly scrutinizing myself for what I can't do, and how I can't manage, and how I have screwed up, I'm not going to use that word, something or another. And so, in terms of Illinois, that was really a fault line for me. It was the first time that I was called an N-word here, was in life was here in Carbondale in 1980. And that did not help my brain, that did not help with me feeling accepted or anything like that. So getting my doctoral degree was kind of like a part of putting myself back together, and it was hard. You can ask Joan and Steve. It was absolutely, remarkably, spectacularly hard. And yet I did it. And so that rift and war that I constantly have within myself, sometimes I will look at that and I will say, you did that. You did that. And then it helps me to go on and do the next thing that might be hard. And I'm like, you got a whole doctoral degree. You can certainly clean your room. So, so that's my rift.
How much time does she have?
32 seconds.
Tell them when you finish your bachelor's. When you
In
went back to school.
2004. 2004. Yeah.
May I ask where you got your bachelor's?
Chicago State.
Okay.
Where did you say?
Chicago State.
And then your master's there?
New Mexico. No, Chicago State. That's its own long story. But,
Well, I'll share mine, and then we'll go around with, oh gosh, world clock, don't like that. I'm going to pass around the ring. Oh, that's okay, you'll be good to it. You'll return it. My great-grandfather Edwin Pope gave that to my great-grandmother Bertha Hendren, after whom Hendren, Kentucky, the Hendren family is Hendren, Kentucky. The interesting story is that my grandfather, the Pope family, were all Catholic. They were German Catholics. And Bertha Hendren Catherine was not Catholic, and when they got married, they baptized the children in the Roman Catholic Church, my grandmother and her sister and brother, but she did not become part of the fold. So when she died, they wouldn't let her be buried with my grandfather in the Catholic cemetery. And it took many, many years before my mom could find, they did a genealogical search. It took a long time before she found where she was buried. She's still not buried with my grandfather. So that it's a religious, I don't know the family dynamics, so I can't talk about family rift. Obviously, he and she married, so they healed that rift. But then when they died, the extended family, and the Catholic Church really is what, the Roman Catholic Church is really what did not allow them to be buried together. So that was a rift, and then it kind of carried on, interestingly enough, in my grandmother, their daughter, was raised Catholic, but she was orphaned by the age of 5. Both of her parents had died, and she was sent to live with the evil aunts. And the evil aunts, just one little bit of story that I remember is she was out scything in the field at the age of 6 maybe, and she scythed her toe. And she came running in to have it, and they bandaged it up and said, "You'll do anything to get out of work," and sent her back out in the field. So they were evil aunts. Her older sister left that household when she was, I think, 18, got married. My grandmother ran away twice. The second time she was 12, so she was old enough and they let her stay by. She went to live with her sister who had joined the Church of Christ, the non-instrumental Church of Christ, which is kind of polar opposite from the Roman Catholic Church. And then she raised my mother in that church. And then my mother met my father, who was Southern Baptist, and they didn't get along. I mean, my parents got along, but the Southern Baptist and the United Church, or the non-instrumental Church of Christ didn't get along. They thought that Church of Christ people were weirdos because they were so strict. So there's been a lot of religious rift in my family, and this took about 150 years to make it to Illinois. And it's oh, I'm done.
So I'm going to ask Madam Facilitator
Yes, ma'am.
if we may have dinner and then come back and do the next artifact share.
What thinks the group? Dinner and then come back?
So what,
Take a break from
okay.
talking
Is
and
that
listening?
okay?
You
Do
want
you
me to
have a
go get
question?
the salad?
Yeah, sure, let's.
Okay.
I'm going to take this down now with me. I like to be in the same room as
Yeah.
you.